Hello, everyone. I pray that you are having a glorious time, and thank you for giving me a few moments of your time. And welcome to Fit Conversation, fearless, intentional, and transformational conversation, where we believe that God has given us this platform to address issues of life and leadership. I want to invite you to log on to patententerprises.com. Get your copy of CUSP. Also, you can order your copy of my first book, Leadership Reflections. And for those that do, they will get a free coffee mug that is branded with Fit Conversations. Now, I know your time is valuable, so let's jump into it. In chapter 31 of Jeremiah, this is where we find ourselves. I hope that you've already read the prayer that has been posted on this chapter, that you have prayed the prayer, and equally that you have shared the prayer with others. Chapter 31, we glean three principles of life and leadership as I have been led to articulate here in this lesson. And the first principle that I want to say that God gives us is the fact that He prioritizes relationships and restoration. Prioritizing relationships and restoration. That just does something for me all by itself. In chapter 31, God expresses His desire to heal and restore the relationship He had with His people, even though His people had violated His laws, sinned against Him with idolatrous worship, and everything they did that led them to a 70-year Babylonian captivity. Yet God prioritizes the relationship and the restoration that He wants to have with them in spite of what they've done. In many instances where we live in, even among Christians, we prioritize the law, but we do not prioritize the relationship. I wish I had some help here today. In many instances, we point out everything that someone has done wrong to us, and yet we don't want to prioritize the relationship and restoration. Yet God, we've sinned against God. We violate God on a daily basis, and He still prioritizes relationship and restoration while we do just the opposite with the relationships that we have. Crickets. God desires that leaders prioritize relationship and restoration. In a world that is often focused in on productivity and efficiency, it is essential to remember that the foundation of fulfilling living a fulfilled life is in relationship. Leaders' ability to bring people together and foster a spirit of unity is critical to any leadership status they have. The great professor and leadership guru Simon Sinek says this: the most influential leaders are the most connected ones. You will never have an influential leadership posture if you're not connected with relationship. And in those instances, relationship has to be the priority along with restoration. The second principle that we see in this chapter is God embraces and asks us to embrace as well a covenant mindset. Good gracious life. Now watch this. The reason that you and I are able, and God articulates this, to prioritize relationship and restoration is because He begins with a covenant mindset. Good gracious of life. In other words, the covenant that God has with His people and the new covenant that He is establishing with His people that ultimately will be enacted by Jesus Christ and Jesus Christ alone as he leads the portals of glory, wraps Himself up in flesh, walked the Via Dolorosa, the path of suffering, dies outside the city gate, and raises on the third day, walks around a few more days, about 40 days, and then finds Himself going back, passing through the first heaven, passing through the second heaven, passing through the third heaven, and sitting down on the right hand of the Father and making intercession for us with moans and groans that cannot be other. That is a result of Him embracing a covenant relationship. Good gracious life. A covenant mindset. Relationship and restoration in those relationships begin with us embracing a covenant mindset. Brothers and sisters, we must remember that Tim Keller in his great work says a covenant is a solemn promise to fulfill reciprocal obligations in a relationship. God has said to us, I am married to the backslider. Why? Because I have a covenant relationship with him. Number three, the third principle that we see in this chapter is a focus on the future with hope. Focus on the future with hope. In spite of saying to them, you're going to have to be here 70 years. I want you to go ahead and marry, build houses, give your sons and daughters into marriage, and pray for the prosperity of the city, because I know the plans that I have for you, some translations, plans to prosper you, but the idea in the Hebrew is shalom, to bring you peace. And he says, I want you to focus in on the future with hope. Now let's understand this. They are in the beginning stages, if you would, of a 70-year sentence where they will be under the thumb, the control of Nebuchadnezzar and the Babylonians, and God still says, I still got a future for you. And the only way that you will be able to experience it and see it is never lose hope. And I'm telling you, brothers and sisters, that, one of the things that the enemy tries to do is reach up in our chest and snatch faith and hope away from us. And faith and hope are two sides of the same coin. We must never allow the enemy to steal our hope, because it was for the hope that was set before him that Jesus endured the cross. And how will you and I be able to face the trials and tribulations, the disappointments of our daily life, if we do not maintain a future that is based on hope? Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. so eloquently stated, we must accept the finite disappointment, but never lose infinite hope. Good gracious of life, that'll preach right there. We must accept finite disappointment, but never lose infinite hope. And brothers and sisters, if you want to know how we are to behave in this season that you find yourself in, both in life and leadership, always remember, prioritize relationship and restoration. Number 2, embrace a covenant mindset. And number 3, focus on the future with hope. I'm Anthony Payton. This Fit Conversations. Thank you for giving me a few moments of your time. May God bless you.